Go ahead and start our review kind of for the NeSA. And so we're going to basically cover a bunch of different concepts all on a given day. And so today you're going to know some of these will be review. Some of these probably should be fairly easy. Some of these maybe you need a little bit of a refresher on. Okay, and so first of all, if you look up here on the board, if we look at our very first one, it just says to simplify. So if we think about what simplify means, that basically means we need to combine like terms. Okay, so in this problem specifically, if I look here, this subtraction sign is where the problem is. And so what I need to do here is I need to change that to addition, and I'm going to then change each individual term. So then now all I'm going to do is add like terms together. So first of all, 4x cubed. Do I have another x cubed somewhere? No, so 4x cubed will be my first part of my answer. Okay, the next one. I have a negative 3x squared and a negative 2x squared. What's my net result?
Negative 5x squared.
Negative 5x squared. So then the next one that I have is 2x and 5x, which is 7x. And then last but not least, I have negative 1 and positive 3, which is
2.
Plus 2. Now remember, all of these are going to be multiple choice. So you're going to have to be really careful that you get the correct signs.
Yeah, because they're sneaking up with the wrong answer and the right answer.
Yep. So, okay, so that's basically adding and subtracting like terms. I think you can handle that. Okay, the next one. Okay, if you look at this, you have to do what? What's the operation between the two parentheses?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. And so what I'm going to do here is basically distribute that x cubed here and distribute the x cubed here. Now that minus 4 is what could cause us some problems, so it's important you recognize that it's there. So x cubed times x is x to the 4th power. What is x cubed times negative 4? Negative 4x cubed. Make sure you carry that negative over. So then now I'm going to do the same thing with the x squared. I'm going to take it times x and it times negative 4. So what does that give me? X cubed and then what? Negative 4x squared. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the 1. So really, what does that give me? X minus 4. So now I'm going to go ahead and add like terms together again. So first of all, I have an x to the 4th by itself. Then I have a negative 4x cubed and an x cubed, which is negative 3x cubed. Then I have a negative 4x squared plus x minus 4. And there you go. That would be your final answer there. Biggest thing, though, you need to watch, they're going to put negatives there to try and screw you up. Okay? All right. So, questions? Think you can handle that?
No.
All right, so let's look at this one. Okay. Now, the nice thing about multiple choice is they generally will always, I mean, you've always got the answer there. So we kind of know where we need to go. First of all, on the top, what do you notice about that top?
They're all divisible.
All divisible by 3, so let's take a 3 out. So if I factor a 3 out, that leaves me with?
X squared.
Yep.
Plus x minus 6.
Okay. The bottom, I can't take anything out, so right now I'm just going to leave it as x squared minus 9. Now this is not in simplest terms, and the reason why it's not in simplest terms is because I can factor these. So see, that's why we spend so much time on factoring. So if you remember with the factoring, I'm looking, since this is a 1 right here, I'm looking strictly at the last number. 2 factors of 6 that differ by 1. What are those 2 factors of 6 that differ by 1? 2 and 3. How do you get a positive 3 from 2 and 3?
Negative 2 plus
negative 2, positive 3. So really up top that will factor to be x minus 2, oops, having trouble with the pen, sorry, x minus 2 and x plus 3. Now the bottom, that factoring pattern is the difference of two squares. Does anybody remember how that will factor?
X minus 3.
X minus 3
And x plus 3.
and x plus 3. Remember, I looked to see what the square root of each of the terms is. So then now in looking at this, what do you notice? Those cancel. And so one answer that they could give me would be 3 times the quantity x minus 2 over x minus 3. But say, for example, you look and there's no answer that looks like that. You might see something that looks like this. And this would be another acceptable answer. Okay, do you see what's different between the two? Yeah, distributed the 3. So that could be another thing you could try. Because sometimes they might manipulate the answers a little bit. All right, so you just kind of have to be aware of that. All right, so let's look at this next one. Find the value. So once again, this is a concept we've went over before. Should be nothing new. How do I break down 72? Couldn't I do 36 and 2? Will that work? And then 36 is 6 and 6. So really I could stop right there, couldn't I, since I got a 6's here? Take a 6 out. So really I end up having negative what? 36 root what? 2. Plus 4 root 2. And then minus what? 9. 3 squared, same thing as 9. So really your final answer would be what?
Negative 32 root 2.
Negative 32 root 2 minus 9. Okay, so that's just basic breaking down using factor trees. With that in mind, let's look at this one. So what does this give me right here?
42.
42. Why does it give me 42?
7 and 7 are 49.
Because the square root of 49 is 7. Now this is the thing, you can't use a calculator, so you kind of have to know some of these things. Okay, what's the square root of 144? 12. Okay, so 12 times 4 is 48. Okay, plus that 3 to the negative 2 power is really like 1 over 3 squared. Remember, that's what a negative exponent does. The negative exponent moves it, either above or below. So 42 minus 48 is negative 6 plus 1/9. So there's two ways you could answer this. Negative 5 and 8/9, or I don't know what they're going to have. They might have negative 53 over 9. My guess is it'll probably be this one though. So once again, you need to be able to convert back and forth, and you're not going to be able to use a calculator. Nothing I agree with. So. Alrighty, so let's look at this one. Now these aren't going to take us very long to go through. These are going to be pretty straightforward. Biggest thing here you need to understand is a negative exponent, because they do have negative exponents. Okay? When you see a negative exponent, what does that mean you do to a fraction?
Flip it.
You flip it. So really this would be 4/3 squared. Okay? What will my final answer be and why? 16/9. They are probably going to have this answer if it's a problem like that. Okay? They will have that as one of the answers. 16/3 is not correct because you need to distribute that squared here and here as well. So make sure whatever's in the parentheses, that gets distributed. If you would get stuck on that, Just do it this way. When you square something, that means you multiply it by itself. So really it's 4/3 times 4/3. So you have 4 times 4 on the top, 3 times 3 on the bottom. Okay, next one, 3/5. Really, what is that going to be? 3/5 plus what? 1/3. Basic fraction problem, but once again, you can't use a calculator. So what's your common denominator? 15, so you have to multiply the first one by what? 3 over 3. What do I have to multiply the next one by? 5 over 5. So really I get how many 15ths in the first bunch? 9 15ths plus 5 15ths, which is 14 15ths. Now once again you're going to have to look. If you would get an improper fraction when you add, you might have to change it to a mixed number. Okay, we've just got a few more types of concepts. This one, oh my goodness, better be ready because there's going to be something like this on there. Okay?
Is this difficult?
No.
Is that difficult?
No, but people make a simple mistake on it. So first of all, what's 2 plus 2/5? 2 and 2/5. Now, what a lot of people do on this problem is they don't write it out this way. There's a big reason why I write it this way. Okay? One, you don't have a fraction within a fraction, and it's a little bit easier to simplify. If I write this here as a mixed, not as a mixed number, as an improper fraction, what would that be?
12/5.
12 over 5. Remember how we get that? 5 times 2 plus 2 divided by 3. So now I need to think, okay, dividing fractions. How do I divide by a fraction? I multiply by what? Which is 1/3. Okay, so then now let's try and simplify. 3 goes into 12 how many times? 4. So your answer is really
4/5.
4/5. Okay, make sure you reduce. Okay. Okay, this is the last one I believe before we start looking at distance and slope formulas, and those will finish us out for today. Okay. 3x cubed, y to the -5th over 4z to the -2nd cubed. Okay, so what I need to do is what with that cube? Distribute. Here, here, here. And then down below, here, and here. So 3 cubed, 3 times 3 times 3 is? 27. What do I do with the 3 and the 3 here? And I get 9. Once again, if you forget, x cubed, x cubed, x cubed, 3, 3, and 3 makes 9. And then y to what power? -15. On the bottom, 4 times 4 times 4. 64. Z to the -6th. Now this is a point in which if I was solving this problem, I would stop and check to see if any of my answers are up there. Okay, they might have one in negative exponents, and it might be up there. The other thing is, then I would go through the answers and I would say, oh, they don't have negative exponents here, so I'm going to have to somehow mix up the problem so that it doesn't have a negative exponent. If I wanted to get rid of this negative exponent, what would I do? I'd move it to the bottom. So then I would move it down here, y to the 15th. What would I do with that z to the -6? Move it up. So then now is when I would check all of the answers again and see. Okay, I don't know what they're going to have, and so based on that, you're just going to kind of have to see. And that's just one of those test-taking strategies, like when you take the ACT. All right, the final few problems are something that you've already known. For those of you that are juniors, you already have these formulas written down or on your sheet. They have the distance formula, they have the slope formula. Should be nothing new. Okay, those of you that are sophomores and we have a few seniors, what you need to do is you probably need to have those or at least know those, have access to those. Because the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to talk about finding the distance between any 2 points. So finding the distance between any 2 points, I'm just going to do the square root of. Okay? And you don't have to memorize this. It's on that sheet for you. So I'm going to do -8 minus 2, quantity squared. Plus, now I got to do 9 minus 5 quantity squared. Okay? So what is -8 and -2? -10 and 4. So if you square -10, what do you get? 100. Now, that's always a positive, by the way. You should never get a negative in here. And what is 4 squared? 16. So your answer is square root of 116. Now, since they don't let you use a calculator, they will generally stop there.
Is distance in midpoint?
And slope.
Oh, slope.
Okay. So with that in mind, let's look at this one. So the square root of what minus what? 7 minus 11? That'll work. I can do it that way. I can do it first to second. And then -2 minus -2 squared. So what is 7 minus 11?
Why does that have to be -11?
Because that's just the formula. 7 minus 11 is?
-4.
Okay, what's -2 minus -2?
0.
0. Okay, so really I end up with the square root of what?
16.
Which is 4. Once again, you're going to have to check to see what they end up having.
I'm assuming they would normally want you to know what the square root of 16 is, though.
Yeah, but I mean sometimes they're checking to see if you can apply the distance formula too. Worst comes to worst on the distance formula, if you get stuck, plot the points. And so then if you plot the points, you know, you don't remember how to use the distance formula. If you plot them like this and want to find the distance between, you can draw in a right triangle here and then use your Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so like if you had 7 here and 11 here, and then you can use your Pythagorean theorem to find that. So that's another way you could do that. Okay? Alrighty, slope. Ton of questions on slope. Okay. So find the slope between the following 2 points. So on this one, it doesn't matter which point you start with, just be consistent. Okay, so if I start with the 5, my numerator will be 5 minus -2. Your y always comes first. It's rise over run. Denominator will be 9 minus 4. So what is 5 minus -2?
7.
9 minus 5, 4?
5.
5. There you go, and that's it. Okay, pretty straightforward. Biggest thing you need to remember, rise over run, y over x, and you've got that reference sheet, so it shouldn't be that hard. So real quick, let's look at this one, because this one is a little different. 2, 1, and 9, 1. So what do I do? 1 minus 1 over 9 minus 2. Well, what is 1 minus 1? 0. What is 9 minus 2? So my slope is?
7.
Slope is?
It has no slope.
0 divided by any number is 0.
So straight line?
7 divided by 0 is
Undefined.
undefined. You need to file that away to memory.
So the answer is undefined, not 0?
The answer is 0 here. Bingo. The reason why I showed you the undefined, though, is because if you would have something like that on your exam. You cannot divide anything by 0. Okay? So, anyway, what you need to do then is I'm going to go ahead and hand out. You've got, take that back. We got one more problem. Sorry. The vertices of rectangle A, B, C, D are 2, -1, 2, 7, -3, 7, and -3, 1. What is the length of the diagonal of a rectangle? So basically, what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to plot 2, -1 here, and then 2, -7, or 2, 7, sorry. 4, 5, 6, 7, there you go. And then -3, 7, and -3, -1. So there is your rectangle, right? Now, they want to know what's the length of the diagonal. So basically, what I'm going to find is that one through the middle. It doesn't matter which one. So what's my horizontal length here? 5. What's my vertical length here?
8.
8. So then you would just use the Pythagorean theorem or the distance formula. It doesn't matter which one. We could do the Pythagorean theorem. 5 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 5 squared is 8 squared is.
64.
So 25 and 64 is
89.
89. So your answer would just be root 89. Now, say for example, they said which number is it closer to? What number would root 89 be closest to? What whole number?
9.
9. Okay, as opposed to 10. So anyway, you have a worksheet that you need to complete for tomorrow. It's just a practice worksheet. Okay, so anyway,